Hey guys, welcome to Code Decode. In this video, we are going to cover very tricky collection interview traps. Now, most of us know about collections. We know what is collection, we know what is list, we know what is arrays, but we do not know underlying data structure when these are combined and interlinked with each other. For example, we do not know when arrays.aslist is called, the output is actually an array list. Is it list? What kind of is it a fixed length of arrays? It is a fixed length of array list. Is it modifiable? Is it mutable? We do not know anything about the underlying data structure, and hence we are unable to answer that in a real typical interview scenarios which are right now happening in the market, because now the interviews are not what is arrays, what is array list. Now interviewers are like, if I do arrays.aslist, the output is what, and that is a modifiable or mutable collection or not. So yes, nowadays a bar is set really high for the candidates. So the task is, let's go into deeper in all interview traps and let's understand each and every step in real basics. So let's get started and cover all of them. The very first trap where most of the people don't know the underlying data structure is when I do arrays.aslist. Each and everything we are going to cover with this proper documentation of Java itself. So let's open the arrays class and find out the aslist method. So let me open arrays class and let me find out aslist method. So here it is. Now you will see and say that arrays.aslist is as usual going to return you an array list. But answer is no. This is not your normal array list. It is actually its own internal static array list class. So the return type of this arrays.aslist is not your common resizable array list, but actually its own internal static array list. So if you can see in the arrays itself, when I navigated to array list, it has taken me to this internal private static implementation class of array list, which is unmodifiable to an extent. I'll tell you why. So when I try to do arrays.aslist and try to add anything, everybody thinks since it is going to return you an array list, it will work fine. But this is where all of you go wrong. The real result is unsupported operation exception, and reason is to this. Arrays.aslist does not return you java.util.arraylist, which you think it is, but it is not. When you try and get into that class, you will see that this array list is not a normal array list. Just go and do F3, or you just try to get inside this class. You will be navigated to array's own internal private static array list class, which extends the abstract list and implements random access and serializable. And because of this own implementation of add and get, it will give you an exception. So now the key properties of this implementation is it is backed directly by the original array. If you can see here, this array list is actually backed by its own array. So internal data structure is still an array, but you are just having a wrapper of array list around it. So this is just a view over this array. This is an array and you are just getting a view over this array as an array list, but you cannot modify it. So there is no separate storage created. The size of this is the size of the array. So if you can see, what is the size? The size of this array list is actually the size of the array itself. This array's size is the size of the array list. And so the list size cannot grow or shrink, and hence the size has to be same for this particular array list. So when you try to add or remove, you're trying to change the size, and that is where you get the exception. If you see here what it extends, this array list extends abstract list. Let me get into abstract list. You will see an add method and remove method. It will all of them throw an exception of unsupported exceptions. So whenever you try to add or remove anything from this abstract list, it will, since it is not overriding add and remove properly, it is going to give you an exception. But what it is overriding from here is the set method. Let's go back to array list. What it overrides is actually the set method. This is the set method. And now you can override the old value with the new value. So since it overrides the set method, you are easily able to set any variable from old to new value. But what you cannot do is you cannot change the size of this array list. So this is a default behavior from abstract list which throws unsupported exception from add and remove that I've shown you. Now, since arrays.arraylist does not override them, they also throw the exception. And why set actually works is because the set is overridden here and it allows you to set the new value. So it's simply, it is not allowing you to have any structural change. You cannot add or remove any element, but what you can do is just update the existing element where a.index becomes the new element. While add and remove fails because these are structural modifications. It requires resizing, and resizing is not allowed because the size returns the original length. If you are not allowed to resize or modify the original length. Hence, what is allowed is the set which is overridden. What is not allowed is what is not overridden, which is add and remove is not allowed. And where all these things happens, it happens in this array list, which is an internal static class of its arrays itself. But if you really want a resizable array, what you can do is you can open the array list class. Now there is an array list class in Java util itself. Now what it does is, it allows you to create a new array list with any of the collection. And here you can give arrays.aslist as an immodifiable or unmodifiable collection, but it will create internally the list object which will be resizable internally and supports add and remove operations. So this is how you can do it. But internally, if you see, by default, arrays.aslist returns you fixed sized backed by original array because of the array list being not from the Java util but from the already static class of arrays itself, which is preventing the size change, but it is allowing you to set the new value in the old data structure. So it is backed by the original array. It is only allowing you to set or update, but it is not allowing you any structural modification because it does not override those methods and underlying array cannot be resized. So this is a very, very tricky thing. 90% of the people go wrong. They do not even know the difference between array list of arrays and array list of java.util. I know this is very depth, but this is where the structural difference lies in array list of arrays, which is an internal static class, and array list of java.util, which is completely resizable and modifiable. The arrays list.list is just a immodifiable list where update is allowed but not add and remove. And what all is allowed, what not, you can always go here and check in its own class. Open the class, you will see what is allowed, what is not allowed. What is overridden is allowed, what is not overridden is not allowed. Simple. Hey guys, recently we have launched a course covering an end-to-end full-stack application using Angular as front-end and microservices and Spring Boot as the back-end. Also, we have used Cloud to deploy this application, and we have used CI/CD, that is Jenkins and Argo CD, for continuous integration and continuous deployment. The technologies that we have used is REST, RESTful web services, Spring Boot and microservices for backend, Angular for frontend. GitHub we have used for version control system. Also, to make the code unit testable, we have used JUnits. We have used Sonar for code quality checks. Also, for containerization, we have used Docker and Kubernetes. And to deploy this whole application, we have used AWS and multiple services from AWS. Also, we have used SQL as well as NoSQL, that is MongoDB and SQL. On AWS, since for the SQL we have RDS, we have used those services, and Jenkins and Argo CD for CI/CD pipeline. Also, this is an architecture of the application that we have created where the front end is Angular and the back end is microservices. We have used ALB load balancers, Ingress for routing and load balancing. And we have used SQL and MongoDB for SQL and NoSQL DB management with Eureka Server and all those microservices counterparts. Now, this is the CI/CD pipeline. This is the CI/CD flowchart for the application that we have created on local. So this is something, a flow when you create an application in local, push it to GitHub, create a Jenkins pipeline and do the CI/CD using Jenkins and Argo CD. And at the end, deploy the whole code at AWS EKS. Complete description of this course is covered in a very separate video. The link for that video is also given in the description bar below. And also the link to purchase that course from Udemy is also in the description bar below. So please go and check the description for all these links. Now the second interview trap on the similar line is, what does this list.off returns you and is it modifiable? Now let's open first the list class and then find out the of method, and then we will answer to this question. So this is my list.java interface of java.utils package, and this is the of method where it returns you an immutable collection. So now you can say truly the list.of returns you an immutable collection, which will not allow you to change anything. Let's open this immutable collection, and it returns you an empty list. So what is the return type? It is that return type of this empty list is list n. Now this list n is again a static final inner class which extends the abstract immutable list, which makes sure that your size is actually the element's size. Get will give you the return of the object, but it will not allow you to do any of the structural modifications, any of the changes, because it is immutable. Let's see what is inside abstract immutable list. Now if you see, abstract immutable list is also a inner static abstract class of the immutable collection itself, and now you will get all your answers. All mutating methods throws unsupported exception. So now you know that when you go to list, you go to off, you go to immutable collections, you go to the empty list. Here you get the data type, which is list n. List n is extending abstract immutable list, and abstract immutable list is where all the code is written, where whenever you try to do set, add, remove, add all, anything, any mutable collection gives you a UOE, which is unsupported operation exception. So now whenever you try to do set, it is going to give you an exception. Whenever you try to return, add or remove, that is going to also give you the unsupported exception. Why? Because list.of is truly immutable list. It is implemented using immutable collections ka list n class. Immutable collections list n class. List n class internally extends abstract mutable list. And this abstract immutable list is where all the mutable methods throws exception. So there is no backing array exposed. Internal store elements are private final data structure. It is not designed to be modified at all. It does not allow any of the add, remove, set, or add all, remove first, remove all, replace all, sort, everything and anything which can mutate your data structure gives you an exception here. Simple. So all of them throws unsupported operation exception. So structural change is also not allowed. Even update of the set is also not allowed, because if you see here, this is a set method. It also throws unsupported operation exception. So now you have a stark difference between arraylist.aslist and list.of. Any mutability is not possible in list.of. Add, remove, set, everything throws you an exception. But in arrays.aslist, the return type is arraylist of array class. So arraylist of array class allows you to set the value but does not override any add or remove. That is why add and remove throws exception, but set is allowed because it is overridden to replace the old value from the old underlying backed real array. So the key difference is the backing. The arrays.aslist is actually backed by the original array, but list.of is actually having an internal immutable data structure which prevents any kind of mutability. Mutability in aslist is partial because only set is allowed, add and remove not allowed, and it is completely immutable data structure internally. While the implementation is through arraylist of arrays class. Remember, this is very important. This is not java.utils.arraylist because it is completely mutable. But here it is arrays.arraylist, which is partially mutable, which allows set method but does not allow any add or remove methods. So always go check the documentation of Java if you really are confused what is the backing data structure for that particular method. While list.of is immutable collections directly, and this immutable collections prevents any kind of mutations. So if you really want to have a mutable list, then you can create the list.of. This will return you an immutable list. But when you do new array list with that, any of the kind of collection, it will create a mutable list over it, which supports all the three scenarios. Now you'll ask me, when do I really use list.off if this is so much rigid, which does not allow any mutations and modifications? Then I'll tell you, if you want to get the supported roles in the read-only fashion. Like for example, you're using an e-commerce system, you want to find out the roles. So they says it is user and admin. But by default, if I add a super admin with all the roles and rights, it will be a disaster because you will get everything out of it. So this prevents accidental modification by the developers and ensures the data integrity. And this is a good design because it prevents the internal data structure and it makes the contract clear that it is read-only. Even your set method should not work if it is immutable and read-only stuff. So list.off returns you a fully immutable list. No modifications are allowed, neither structural nor elemental level modifications like set operations, because all mutating methods are overridden to throw unsupported operation exception UOE. Simple. Now the third trap again around very similar method is collections.unmodifiable list. Now is it a true unmodifiable list just like list.off? Answer is no. Let's open this collections.unmodifiable list and see what is the underlying data structure that Java people have used for it. So let's go to collections. Let's open the unmodifiable list. This unmodifiable list is again a static inner class of this collections class, which extends unmodifiable collection. Now what does it throw? Again, add, set, remove, all of them throws unsupported exceptions. So now let's get to the question, the real question. Now there's a list which is created with a modifiable list, because list.off is unmodifiable, but when you create a new array list, this is a modifiable list. So the underlying data structure is a list which is modifiable. Now you create an unmodifiable list with this list and you create an unmod kind of variable around it. But when you try to add to this list, are you allowed to do that? Answer is yes, because though it is immutable list, but when you wrap it around the new array list of Java util type, it allows you to create a modifiable list with 1, 2, 3, and it is allowed to add, update, delete, remove, anything and everything operations are possible onto this kind of list. So when you try to add, it will give you a proper 1, 2, 3, 4, which is modified. But the problem is your unmod is also modified. So now your unmod also now points to 1, 2, 3 and 4. The reason is both of them points to the same memory data structure. So if you modify the modifiable list, you will be fine. Your unmodifiable list will also show the update. But you cannot directly modify the unmodifiable list. Why? Because unmodifiable list does not create a new list. It is just a wrapper around the original list. So it is just the unmodifiable list here. What does this unmodifiable list do is just to create the wrapper around this existing list. So this list still remains modifiable. The only thing is you create a unmodifiable decorator or wrapper around your existing list. Now, internally it holds the reference to original list. It does not copy but point to the same list. But it is read-only. Now it overrides all the methods, add, remove, everything. So you cannot do the operations onto unmodifiable list. But it is not stopping you from modifying the existing underlying data structure, which is a modifiable list. And hence you can modify the underlying structure. It will show you the differences. But you cannot directly use this unmodifiable list object to do any such mutations. This is very complicated. If you understand the basics of this, you will be able to get it at the first place itself. So just to repeat myself, collections.unmodifiable list is just a wrapper pointing to the same original list. Now this same original list, when you modify it, it will be showing you the change because it is pointing to the same memory location. But if you try to use this unmod variable or instance and try to modify the list, you will get an exception because it is overridden to throw unsupported operation exception if you directly use the unmodifiable list object. Unmodifiable list object cannot be used to modify the underlying data structure. But it is not preventing the original data structure to be exposed. The worst part of this method is that you are exposing the internal structure and not preventing it from modification. So that is why I say It is not truly immutable. You can mutate the original list, you will be able to see the change here also. This is just a shallow copy, it is not a deep copy. Also, what does get method do? It returns you the list.get. So it just returns you what is the internal data structures get method returns, and what it returns in the size, that also it returns the size of the existing data structure. And that is why it is the original list which is worked upon during the get and size which do not mutate, and where it is mutable, it's same, it gives you an exception. So it always reflects the latest state of original list. But why the input changes is because you modified the original list, and unmod is just a wrapper pointing to the same list. So your unmod is also pointing to the same memory area where your original list is pointing to. So if you modify the original list, unmod is also modified internally because it is a shallow copy. It is pointing to the same memory area, not a deep copy where it creates a copy as immutable data structure. It is not. Now, important distinction between them is that backing up. Unmodifiable list is backed up by original list, but list.off is independent of the original list. It will not allow you any modification. And that is a very stark difference between unmodifiable list and list.off. And you must know this difference because mutability is the key difference here. Now, who is mutable? The underlying if list changes, this is mutable. So it is a shallow copy, it is not fully immutable, but list.off is fully immutable. And the view type of unmodifiable list is read-only wrapper, but list.off creates the immutable object in the memory itself. So now if you try to do unmodifiable.add, it gives you an exception because the add is here. It throws unsupported exception. But when you change the original list, it is allowed to do that, and internally it will also reflect the changes. But if you really want a completely immutable list, you better use list.off, or you can create the unmodifiable list but create a deep copy of it. So now whenever you try to change the existing list of 1 to 3, a deep copy is created as a new array list, and that new array list is used to create the unmodifiable list, and this is never going to expose your internal original reference. But the best part is the first operation. Now, why is this so much tricky? Because it looks immutable, but internally it still changes its data structure because the internal underlying data structure is modifiable and mutable. And that is why 90% of the people goes wrong here. So the final takeaway is collections.unmodifiable returns a read-only wrapper over the original list. It prevents direct modifications through this wrapper, but it does not prevent any underlying changes to the existing original list. So if you change the original list, you have modified the unmodifiable list, which is why it is a breaking unmodifiability for this particular kind of method. So for me, the best method for unmodifiable collection creation is list.off. Now the fourth trap, what happens if hash code always returns you the same value? For example, if you overridden the hash code and returns you 1, that means all object goes to the same bucket in the hash map or the hash set. And how it actually internally happens. So suppose you have map.put. Now this map.put calculates the hash over the key, and your hash always return you 1. So your index is always 1. This distributes the keys across multiple buckets, but if your index is always the same, then the hash of key is 1 for all the keys, and hence index is same for all the keys, and everything goes to the same bucket. Now you'll ask me, what worst can happen if all my keys and all my entry objects of the hash map goes into the same bucket? The problem is you have 10-15 buckets where you expect your data to be distributed. But now when your all the elements goes to bucket number 0, then it is a bad performance because it becomes a linear data structure rather than the tree kind of structure that you might have created with the hash map. So performance impact is bad. Now it is a linked list traversal with order of n. But after Java 8 optimization, the best you could get is order of log n. Because now after treeification, the order of n of linked list is converted to red-black tree, where the worst case order traversal is not order of n, but order of log n. Now you would ask me, what is treeification? So treeification is a conversion of the linked list into the red-black tree when the capacity goes beyond a certain threshold and the size of the bucket goes beyond the list. Goes beyond a particular number. For example, the bucket size is greater than 8 and the capacity is greater than or equal to 64. That is where the tree conversion happens from the linked list. So linked list is cheaper for the small data, but tree is efficient for larger collisions. What happens in productions when thousands of users are inserted and all of them goes to the same bucket? Now you have a linear structure getting created till a particular threshold, and after that it is treeification is done, and then it is modified into a red black tree and it becomes slow, and the real impact is CPU usage increases, the performance degrades, and hence it is performance is severely damaged, and you cannot even detect in the production, you cannot debug this issue. So the final takeaway is if hash code returns the same value for all objects, the hash map loses its order of 1 advantage and degrades to either order of n or to order of log n after treeification in Java 8. Now I have many more questions to cover. A lot of things I have for you to cover because it's a very big topic. Just let me know in the comment section. It is as even I have a lot of complex questions also, like why the 0.75 is chosen as a treeification balanced design sizing. Just let me know in the comment section if you want more of these questions. I'll create another video on collections for you. Thank you. Hey guys, recently we have launched a course covering an end-to-end full stack application using Angular as front end and microservices and Spring Boot as the back end. Also, we have used Cloud to deploy this application, and we have used CI/CD, that is Jenkins and Argo CD, for continuous integration and continuous deployment. The technologies that we have used is REST-RESTful web services, Spring Boot and microservices for backend, Angular for front end. GitHub we have used for version control system. Also, to make the code unit testable, we have used JUnits. We have used Sonar for code quality checks. Also, for containerization, we have used Docker and Kubernetes. And to deploy this whole application, we have used AWS and multiple services from AWS. Also, we have used SQL as well as NoSQL, that is MongoDB and SQL. On AWS, since for the SQL we have RDS, we have used those services, and Jenkins and Argo CD for CI/CD pipeline. Also, this is an architecture of the application that we have created where the front end is Angular and the back end is microservices. We have used ALB load balancers, Ingress for routing and load balancing. And we have used SQL and MongoDB for SQL and NoSQL DB management with Eureka Server and all those microservices counterparts. Now, this is the CI/CD pipeline. This is the CI/CD flowchart for the application that we have created on local. So this is something, a flow when you create an application in local, push it to GitHub, create a Jenkins pipeline and do the CI/CD using Jenkins and Argo CD. And at the end, deploy the whole code at AWS EKS. Complete description of this course is covered in a very separate video. The link for that video is also given in the description bar below. And also the link to purchase that course from Udemy is also in the description bar below. So please go and check the description for all these links.